Hi, good morning and happy Monday. Welcome to Coffee Talk Live. My name is Coach Connie. I am coming at you from my big orange chair in Astoria, Queens. Happy to be back in New York City after a month, which felt like an eternity at my lake house in Pennsylvania, which I'm very happy about. I love it there, but it is very lonely and I miss the sirens and the construction noises and my neighbors. So today I am so excited to talk to my special guest. Her name is Lynsie Slachetka, and we are going to learn about a nonprofit that she basically pulled out of thin air in the last couple months called Colorful Talks. Hi, Lynsie.
Hey, how are you?
I am
Thanks for having me
so
on.
Yes, I am so excited to talk to you today. The second I saw you post that you created this organization, I was like, that is exactly what I need in my life. And I can't wait to share with everyone who's watching what it's all about. So, Lynsie, you are the founding member and the current communications chair of Colorful Talks. And today we're going to talk about how it started, how it works, who's involved, who this is great for, and some volunteer opportunities for the folks who are watching. So my first question before we get into it is, what's in the mug today? What are you drinking?
I am drinking Mighty Oaks coffee because it's at the end of my street and it's
Me too.
fantabulous. Are you?
Yeah,
You tried it?
I got it
Oh,
in
you
the
got the same
CSA.
box.
Yes.
Those are my favorite boxes.
That it is awesome, and I'm going to be interviewing one of the owners, the head coffee guy I
Ooh,
connected with, and he's going to be on my coffee talk show in March. So
that's awesome. Yeah, no, it's great coffee. I'm kind of a coffee snob after living in Hawaii. I got spoiled. So like a lot of the coffee here, I'm like, oh, it's not that great, but I actually like Mighty Oaks coffee. So
oh my gosh. So Hawaii is like, it's on my list. It is like at the top of my list of places to go, not just because of like surfing, because that's something I'm into, but I want to go hang out on the coffee plantations and see how amazing Kona coffee is grown. I'm so jealous. Please tell me an
yeah.
awesome story of your experience in
I
Hawaii.
mean, we had toddlers, so we went to the coffee plantations and did the tours, but I feel like all they wanted to do was bash the beans with the rocks. Like that was like the big thing. But they were really little then, so maybe we could like learn something and actually see more if we went back now.
Sounds like a perfectly good excuse to me. So that's awesome. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Like, I think you actually did what I want to do, which is like up and spend a couple months in Hawaii,
Oh,
like
we lived
live,
there for
work
3 years.
there.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
amazing. So
yeah.
that I'm gonna have to save for another conversation because I want to get into, I'm just gonna imagine I'm sitting on the beach talking to you now. So we're gonna get into coffee talk. We're going to get into colorful talks. So for anyone who's watching, by the way, please feel free to comment, say hi, let us know if you have questions about colorful talks or anything. Tell us what you're drinking today. I want to hear what everyone's having. But so let me introduce Colorful Talks. Colorful Talks is a nonprofit organization that offers parents conversation tools to put their children on the path to racial acceptance. So,
Mhm.
Lynsie, tell me the origin story of Coffee Talk, of
Of colorful
Colorful Talks.
talks.
Hang on, this is only my second cup. Give me a minute.
It's kind of funny. So after the George Floyd stuff happened, our school, Growing Up Green, decided to take a day off so that parents could have those tough conversations and talk about the news with their kids. But then they also let us know that they would be talking about the news with the kids, which is, I can't say enough how much the school has been supportive and great throughout all this. With all the changes this year and everything, the school has really been there. And they had been doing a great job at the school with these social emotional learning modules in the morning. And the teachers really like talking to the kids and getting them to kind of play and even over Zoom, just have those meaningful connections. So when all this happened, I kind of had that aha moment, here I am, a white woman with all my white privilege. I hadn't really talked to my kids about racism. They had grown up in Hawaii, and it's kind of funny, like our friends in Hawaii were incredibly diverse. We had Japanese friends, friends from all over the Eastern Bloc of Europe. We had Romania, we had Israel, like we had all these friends from all these different places. And even when my daughter was little, she'd be like, Mom, why don't you have a secret language? So like, it was kind of funny because I was the only one who was an English speaking only mom. And then we moved to Queens, and of course Astoria, our lovely neighborhood, is amazing and diverse and vibrant, and they see all sorts of people. And I feel like we had a lot of those conversations early on. My son, when one Easter, was super upset the Easter Bunny wasn't going to go see our Jewish friend. And he was like, doesn't the Easter Bunny love her? And I was like, no, it's not like that. Everyone has their religion, and we have to support and show love for everybody's religion. And I feel like we had a lot of those conversations, but we never really specifically talked about the fact that racism exists and that other people don't support and love everybody, and don't support and love everybody's religion and everybody's appearance, and how we're all grouping ourselves into these little categories, and how that sometimes causes conflict. And I always knew that at some point that conversation was coming, and I had the luxury of waiting. Obviously, it wasn't in our face like it is for so many families. For me, it was more like acceptance and love and acceptance and love. And all of a sudden it was like, I do have to tell them that this other thing exists. And I was really going back to the school thing. I was really looking for one of those social emotional learning modules like the school had been doing about COVID and about, dealing with death and things like that. And I couldn't find one. I spent all morning frantically Googling, social emotional learning modules on race-based education, anti-racism education. And it just kept coming up with books and videos and movies, and all that stuff is great, but I have 2 very active children, and they respond better to play-based learning. And I really wanted this to stick and be something that was tangible for them. So I started asking my social media team, who these moms, I say moms, mostly are moms. There's 2 men in our group, but everybody else is a mom. And we're spread out all over the country. And I started asking them, hey, what are you guys doing about this? What are your schools doing? What educational modules have you seen? And we all were kind of coming up empty-handed. A lot of videos, a lot of books, a lot of reference sources, but nothing that was like very tangible. And we really, we started having that discussion. We started asking our mom groups, and the mom groups, I think you remember at that time, like they were blowing up, right? Like all the mom groups were imploding, and everybody was having issues, and the conversations were going off the rails. And it became very apparent that people were really struggling with how to have this conversation with their kids. So our social media team was like, well, why don't we just make a website and aggregate all these great, because we started like our own internal Google Doc, and we're like, let's make a website and aggregate all these resources. And I was like, we haven't done, because of COVID, we kind of got behind. And usually we do a nonprofit project every year where we help one nonprofit. Adjust Media Group is my company, and we are an advertising agency, but we take a certain percentage of our hours and we dedicate them to a nonprofit every year. So we'll make a website, or we'll help them with their branding and their logo design or their social media. And I was like, sure, let's make a website with these resources. And it kind of just snowballed. Everybody started messaging, hey, I know this person, why don't you guys do this? And we kind of ended up with the dream team of a board that we have. I mean, I would have never I just would have never even met Vera. Vera Jones is out of Jacksonville. She's a former ESPN sports broadcaster and professional basketball player, and she's a diversity and motivational speaker. And she joined as our president. And we have an amazing psychologist, and we have social workers and educators, and we just have this team. And 2 local moms, Tanitra and Shireen, are involved. And that's been so much fun because they're here in Astoria, and they're people that I love in real life, and they're along with this journey. So we just have this team of really niche, qualified people who came together to kind of work up how could we best provide tools for parents who are looking to have these conversations.
That's incredible. And I'm so glad to hear that you have a team of qualified professionals that are in the field that have been working with this long before it became mainstream, if that's the right word for it.
Well, the perspective is so different, right? So like Marla teaches adults from an HR perspective on diversity and equity and inclusion. And her perspective on what's the important conversation topics and how this impacts people even when they get to the workplace, kind of that 100-yard, like this is what it could be if we don't do something now. The perspectives are so different on the team. I think that's been it's been really eye-opening to see how this impacts everybody in so many different ways.
Right. And I'll be the one that points it out, like we're two white women talking about diversity and equality, and this was kind of like one of the biggest reasons I wanted to hear more about this, because like you, right now I have a 2-year-old, so I don't have to explain anything to her about like the Easter Bunny or, she just figured out Santa Claus. But, watching everything unfold last year and me recognizing like, how am I going to have this conversation with my kids? It's obviously going to happen at one point. So tell me then a little bit of what like these modules look like and what the education process looks like.
So right now we have about 50 parent volunteers who do take a survey every month, and the surveys are on one very singular topic. So the initial survey was on what is race and how do we identify race? And the parents fill out these surveys and they provide there's space for them to provide stories or insights or additional notes. And then from those surveys, our team of educators and the psychologists get together and they say, okay, these are the further questions. And this is the piece that seems to have the most similar type response. And let's see if we can push this farther. And then they take 5 to 10 parents from our list, and we try to make it so it's a different 5 to 10 parents every time. Like they'll hopefully only do it like once a quarter, but they do an hour-long session where they really get in and they discuss this as a small group. And it's recorded, but it's only recorded for the purposes of the educators to review afterwards. And what it has done is allowing parents to say, hey, if I'm going to have this conversation coming to the table as an Islamic American, as an African American, these are the things that are important that everybody else knows, that I want my kids to know, but I want everybody else's kids to know. And that piece of information, whatever that nugget of truth is, we try to carry that out into the module that the educators create. So after the surveys, after the deep dive, the educators meet again, and they determine how to take the lessons from what the conversations were and make them applicable in a play-based module. They try to create some sort of game or some sort of hands-on activity. So our first module did have a video, but then it has a 2-step sorting process in which the kids learn it's okay to group. We all group people. It's funny, I did it with my daughter, and she put everybody with purple shirts together. Regardless of race or hair or sex, she put everybody that had purple shirts in one pile. And like, it's very natural for us as humans to group and categorize people. What we want to do is tell kids it's okay to group, but it's not okay to assign negative associations to any group or assume a group or make assumptions based on the things that you see in a group. So that was like the first activity. It was kind of fun because you have to cut out all the different little pieces, and it's like a grid of people. And the kids, it's funny to see how the kids, like I said, my daughter picked shirts. I would have never picked shirt colors, but that's some of the things that we've learned as adults. We don't look at the shirt color anymore. We look at their hair, we look at their eyes, we look at their skin. But those are all things that we learn. So it's very interesting to see where the kids come to and what the conversation goes to because the kids are involved. But it made it really easy to have that conversation about what is race. Race is how you look. Race is that ethnicity, that where you came from. So it was fun to see that first module come out. Our second module is in progress right now. We just had the parent meeting last week. And it is defining racism. And it's funny, that one question, what is racism to you? That had so many wildly varied answers. You know, and there's a lot of takeaways from the parent meeting about what they wanted people to know that word meant to them.
That's incredible. And to hear that you take a group of people with a question, like real, real time responses right now. This isn't from textbooks 5 years ago. This isn't from journal articles or anything, but you're like, hey, people around us, large, sample size group, what is this to you? And you funnel it through your group of experts, your dream team, like you said, and then you convert it into how would this look to children? How would this look as a program for children? And that's such an important and beautiful lesson to not associate negative or positive connotations with race. And I mean, that's what I do in coaching, right? Like it draws parallels to saying like there is no such thing as bad food or good food, because a carb is a carb. It's just what it is, and taking the time to think of like, okay, how can I explain this in a way that is easy to absorb, and to recognize that like there's a different way to look at things. And while we're working on our own stuff with our anti-racism work, at the same time being able to look at it from the perspective of our kids sounds so valuable and so important. And it's a way for us to see it too, boiled down to a really simple, I don't want to say it's simple in like a negative way, but just in a way that like they understand it, and then we can look at it too and be like, oh yeah, that's kind of like how I approach nutrition, and allowing ourselves to like literally create new neurons in our brain with associating one thing to the other. So that's it's a really cool opportunity and project that you're working on. So who is Colorful Talks available for, and how do we access these modules?
So the modules are on the website. So the first one's up. You can go download it, print it, play with it. Let me know how it goes. Send some pictures. That'd be awesome. The second module will be up soon, and we're looking for parent volunteers to do the monthly surveys and participate in the deep dives. And that could be any parent. You don't have to have, that's been a question we've had a lot, is I'm a white parent, I'd like to participate. We absolutely have white parents participate. We have parents of all diversity, all walks of life, all different backgrounds. We try to mix them up over the country. Last call, we had 5 different states on. And that was really good, because your perspective as a Black person in the South might be different than someone in the middle of Astoria. I personally am a little biased. I think everyone should go up in Queens, because you have such a mix of culture and cultural identities. And I feel like people really do respect each other here, at least for the most part. So I would love if the whole country was a little bit more like Queens, but we do try to mix it up in our modules and have a little bit of everybody from everywhere, so that everybody has that experience and the chance to really say, hey, if you're going to do this, I really would want kids to know that, or your kid could help my kid in knowing this. There's a lot of really positive conversations that go on in these deep dive conversations. And I think for me, it's just been amazing to hear them. There's things that have been brought up that I would have never thought of. There's things that I think are just really humbling. Like you hear some of the stories and you're like, wow, like it's a whole life experience and a whole walk that I haven't had to walk, but it's good perspective. It's taught me a lot about myself. So it's overall, the parent volunteers have a really wonderful chance to really shape the conversation. It takes a village, and we're asking the village what they want.
Which is always a risky thing when you're asking, I think, for people's experience and feedback, because you're going to get it. So being able to properly disseminate that information, or I say distill that information into useful information, but you have that group of experts that are ready to do it. So we can maybe post the link to the volunteer page at the bottom of this conversation, or anybody is welcome to comment if they're interested, and we can connect you to the right people. So that's really awesome. My question for you is, where do you see this? Like, what is your vision for this as it grows?
You know, it's funny. We went from, hey, we're just going to make this resource to, okay, now we're filing for a 501c status and we're an entity in the state of Florida. We're just like in this process of becoming something bigger and different. And I think there's a lot of different pathways for this. There's been some talk about collaborating with some of the existing programs that go into schools. There's been some talk about having more live events. We had a paint night event that was a lot of fun. We all learned how, like, you know, various skin tones are just added different little shades of yellow or white or some darker brown. And that was fun. I think the kids had a lot of fun exploring. You know, the live events are a chance to connect, and that's something people need so much right now. It's so different than just doing an activity at home. It takes it that next step further. So maybe we'll do more of those. There's not really a goal. The goal is just to kind of create these modules so people can utilize them and have the conversations, because if we don't, they end up in workplace conversations 20 years from now, you know? So it's important to start it now while they're little.
Yes, and that's really cool. You know, sometimes organizations and businesses have like big visions and say, like, you know what, in 5 years, I'm gonna do a TED Talk or whatever. And something that I've learned, you know, through like spending 10 years as a yoga practitioner, and just the way that my business has organically changed, is to, instead of having just that one path and putting your blinders on, sometimes whenever you only have that one trajectory, you miss other opportunities. So being able to keep all of the doors of opportunity open, that we could see this organically just go in all different kinds of ways, which is really awesome, because I think the potential for something like this right now is just completely unlimited. And I want to talk for a second about that paint night, because I was there. And
thank you for coming.
You know, my husband and I love doing date night activities when we aren't completely exhausted. And it was just a perfect thing, you know, for us to do with our daughter. Even though she's only 2, she wasn't really 100% paying attention. But it made me think for a minute about how, like, you know, you and I grew up with, you know, nude Crayola crayon being the color of white people's skin, and not recognizing the little like unconscious conditioning that did for us in our generation, and, you know, generations before. And that just having that simple little, like, okay, we're going to paint different kids on this picture. I should have pasted my picture behind me. I'll post it in the comments. But being able to say, like, oh, so we, you know, start with one color, and then we maybe add some yellow or add some pink or add some brown, and look, there's just different varieties of kids, and that's all that it is. It's just different combinations of colors. They're all still children. And I think that's one of the little ways that we can start integrating this, you know, perspective, which I thought it was really cool, and I got it, and I loved it. And I think that having an organization like Colorful Talks is going to add such tremendous value, not just for our neighborhood in Queens where we kind of get it, but all over the country, maybe even all over the world, and seeing how we can just make little subtle change from the beginning of our kids' stages in life. Because that's what I mean, that's what Strong as a Mother is about. That's what these coffee talks are about, is to see what wellness and sustainable health looks like in our communities and in our homes. And right now, I don't think we can ignore the conversation about race and say that we're living a life of wellness and a life of supporting the community.
And it's so hard to have that conversation with your kids, because in my case, I have been like, love everybody, love their religion, love, love, love. And like, and really celebrate each other's religion. Like we will go to our friend's house and do Passover, and we've done celebrations within their family homes and tried their cuisines. We have a map of the world and we scratch off each country as we try food from each country. So we really want to celebrate everybody's culture, but we hadn't talked about the people who don't. And I think it's hard in a way to work yourself up to that conversation. And that's such a privilege to even have to, because most families, that comes barraging into their world, So I think it's good to give parents tools, and I think it's good for all parents. Some of the families that have used this, they talked about, our family has experienced racism, but it was still really helpful to show our kids, even they classify people and even they group people, and that there's nothing wrong with grouping people. What's wrong is all the things that come after that. So I think that was a lesson that I just never learned as a kid. I didn't know that it was okay to group people. We were all like, let's be colorblind, So it's good to allow people to be grouped and to celebrate the differences. It's just associating all that negative stuff with it that's bad.
Exactly. And that's such an awesome message. And I think now that we have a greater or a better understanding of what Colorful Talks is, that we can continue to lead people and understand the kind of people that we can, give this tool and this resource to. So thank you so much, Lynsie. Tell me, how can we find you on social media, on the internet, on Instagram? Like, where should we follow you?
Yeah, so Colorful Talks is just Colorful Talks on all platforms. So it's colorfultalks.org. It's at Colorful Talks on Insta. We kept it pretty consistent. All the links are on our main website. So I'll post all the links after this.
Perfect. So again, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your new organization. I wish you the absolute best in this adventure. And, Strong as a Mother, here we want to support you however we can, because it is just an amazing program. So turning the conversation a little bit, something that folks might not know too is that you are currently a member of my Strong as a Mother coaching program. So
I ran this morning.
And that's awesome. So if you have just a minute to quickly just talk about like your experience with it so far, how are you finding the group element, the one-on-one element, just your journey? I mean, you're only a couple weeks in at this point, but why don't you tell the good folks a little bit of your side of the coaching experience?
I think it's great because you wake up every morning knowing what the plan is, right? Because there is a plan. So I'm not like, kind of, I feel like maybe just doing yoga today, like there's a workout waiting and you get all the notifications, and it's been very simple to use and very thorough. I love the support. It's been great. So I appreciate it. It's been a good program. I feel like you guys have it figured out.
That's exactly what I want you to think. I work one cup of coffee at a time, honestly. I'm really glad that you're so far enjoying the experience. And my goal is to make fitness and nutrition as effortless as possible, because we have so much more incredibly awesome stuff to do with our time as women, as moms, as employees, and all the other things that we are outside of being mothers. So I'll let anyone who's watching know that I do have 5 spots opening up for online coaching in the Strong as a Mother program. So if you want to take your post-COVID life from chaos to crushing it in 12 weeks, join me, join Lynsie and the team of other moms, and send me a message if you're interested, because this program, I'm only allowing 5 more people in because of how much individualized attention I give each client. But if you're ready and for the support and nutrition and fitness to live a sustainably healthy life, please reach out to me, DM me, comment below, and we'll get talking. So thanks everyone for watching in on this Colorful Talks Coffee Talk. And Lynsie, have an awesome day, and I will see you in the group, won't I?
Yep. See you.
All right. See you from the other side of Queens, right?
Yes. You're across the tracks.
I'm across the tracks. That's right. I'm in walking distance to Marshalls and BJ's, so I'm not complaining. Awesome. Enjoy your coffee, enjoy your day, and everyone who's watching, stay strong, stay caffeinated, and I will see you in the group. Take care, everyone.
Bye.